Hi there, my name is Steve Stine, and I'm going to teach you how to play Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to break down all of the chord progressional stuff in the song. And then at the end, I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk about all the single note stuff, and I'm going to talk about all the soloing stuff. So the first thing you want to do if you've ever seen any of my videos is start learning how to think about the song in terms of its blocks, meaning intro, verse, bridge, chorus, all that sort of thing. And the great thing about this song is there really isn't that many parts, but there are a few techniques that we need to know, namely open chords, power chords, or bar chords, depending on which one. And if you're looking at trying to do the single note stuff, you'd have to be able to pick strings, and certainly the soloing would require you to have some knowledge in technique and that sort of thing. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do first is we're going to take a look at the verses. Okay? Now the verse starts with an open E chord. Okay? So the first thing you do is play that open standard E chord. Okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to move to the second fret of the fifth string, and there you're either going to be playing a power chord or a bar chord. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about this whole thing in power chord form first, and then I'll go back and talk about what the bar chords would be. So you're going to be moving from the E open chord to the second fret of the fifth string, and you're going to create a power chord right there, which means your first finger is on the second fret of the fifth string, your ring finger is on the fourth fret of the fourth string, and your pinky is on the fourth fret of the third string. And you would only want to strum those three strings, 5, 4, and 3. Okay? Then we're going to move that up 2 frets to the fourth fret of the fifth string. So we're doing the exact same thing, but now we're at the fourth fret of the fifth string. Okay, so this is what the beginning sounds like. Again, I'm leaving out all the picking, but here's what you'd have. Sorry. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to move to the fifth fret of the sixth string. Okay, we're going to make a power chord there. Again, I'm going to show you how to do the whole thing as power chords to begin with. Okay, so we're moving our fifth string power chord up to the sixth string, fifth fret. So I'm moving from E to the second fret of the fifth string, which is B, to the fourth fret of the fifth string, which is C sharp, to the fifth fret of the sixth string, which is A. Now, a lot of people will ask, well, why can't I come down to this A, like an open A or an A power chord? And the truth is you can go down there. I'm going to do it up here because I'm going to show you how it fits into the picking pattern when we get into that. So I'm going to play it up here. But if you chose to play A down here in the open position, that would be perfectly fine. Okay? So here's what we've got so far. So that's the first half of the verse. The second half looks exactly the same except for the fourth chord. You're going to play E like you did before. You're going to play B like you did before on the second fret of the fifth string. Sorry, the third chord, I'm sorry. Instead of going to the fifth string fourth fret as the third chord, you're going to go to the sixth string fourth fret. Okay? So the third chord is what changes the second time around. So let me play the whole little sequence for you here. So we have E, B on the fifth string, C sharp on the fifth string, then A. Then I go back, E, B, but then I'm going to go to G sharp to A. So the A stays the same. It's just that what I'm doing is the third chord of the sequence. Instead of playing it on the fifth string, I'm playing it on the sixth string. And the verse just goes back and forth between those, okay? So the whole thing together, you've got E, B, which is fifth string power chord on the second fret, C sharp, which is fifth string power chord on the fourth fret, and then you go up to A. Now again, if you choose to play A down here, that's perfectly fine. Then you go back the second time around, you do E, B, but instead of going to C sharp on the fifth string, you go to G sharp on the sixth string, still fourth fret, and then up to A. Okay, so that's the block for the verse. Then we go into the bridge. Okay, the bridge is the stranger's dancing part. What you're going to do there, again, is one of two things. You're either going to play A to E. That's all you do is play A. Okay, to E. Now, it is possible to play that a couple other different ways, too. You can play it up at the 14th fret and such. There's a sequence on there that shows playing the keyboard part is essentially what you're doing up there. If there was a keyboard player, that's what they would be playing, okay? But if you wanted to play that way, you could do is go up to the 16th fret, okay, and play 16th fret of the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. And then head back down to the 14th fret and play those same 3 strings. So you have 16 to 14. You do that twice. And in between those, what you can do is a palm muting thing where you go. So what you're doing is palm muting. Again, palm muting is done with the karate chop part of your hand, laying it against the top strings, okay, right where the bridge and the string meet. You're laying that karate chop part over the top, and you're getting this sound. Okay, so far we've got open chords, we've got power chords, we've got palm muting, okay? You've got your verse, and now we're talking about the pre-chorus, okay? The pre-chorus is going A to E. Now, do you have to play that strumming pattern? No, I mean, if you wanted to just strum. That'd be okay too, or if you just want to let them ring out. You know, anything like that is going to sound just fine. It's just up to you to decide which one sounds the most comfortable for you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go up to that 16th fret with our 3rd finger. We're going to press against the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings at the 16th fret, and we're going to strum those 3. Then right afterwards, we're going to do palm muting. We're going to do 2 palm mutes of the 5th string. And then we're going to head to the 14th fret with our 1st finger, and we're going to press on those same 3 strings, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Then we're going to do 4 palm mutes afterwards. Okay? Then it changes. We're going to go back to the 16s, but we're going to have to go there with our 1st finger because we're going to actually work above the 16th fret this time. Okay? So what's happening there is I'm playing the 16th fret with my 1st finger, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings again, with the 2 palm mutes. But when I get done, I'm going to take my middle finger and I'm going to place it on the 17th fret of the 2nd string. And I'm going to take my 3rd finger and I'm going to place it on the 18th fret of the 4th string. So I keep my bar down, but I add these 2 fingers on. This one goes on the 2nd string, 17th fret. This one goes on the 18th fret of the 4th string. So it sounds like this. Now, any of you that have studied my theory stuff, this is from the cage system. What you're doing up here is the C shape of the cage system. If you don't know what that is, that's perfectly fine. But if that helps you in your study, that's awesome, okay? So we're doing A to E, or you're doing 16 to 14, and then 16 to this shape up here, okay? Again, whatever your level is, whatever it is that you're interested in doing with this video, okay? Now we come out of that pre-chorus into the Somewhere in the Night, and that goes like this. And then it goes back into the verse, okay? So what that is playing the 2nd fret, 5th string. We're doing a power chord right there. And then I'm heading down to the E open power chord, okay? So instead of playing the open E chord, which is fine to play, I'm just going to it as a power chord with my 1st finger on the 5th and 4th strings. So I'm pressing on the 5th string, pressing on the 4th string with my 1st finger at the 2nd fret. The strings below, it doesn't matter if I touch them or not because I'm not going to play them anyway, okay? And then what I would do with this chord is play the 6th string, the 5th string, and the 4th string, okay? The reason I'm going to that 1 finger E instead of going to the whole E is because I'm already there when I make the 5th string power chord. This is a pretty cool little shortcut. When I play this 5th string power chord, if you look, my 1st finger's already in position to do that next chord. So all I have to do when I play this chord is strum 5th string, 4th string, 3rd string. And then when I head up to the next chord, I can just leave that finger there and now strum the top 3 strings. See, I don't have to move. I can stay right there. Okay? So let me show you that again. So we're going from the B 5th string power chord to the E open power chord. Then we do it again, but the second time we're going to jump from this E power chord straight down to the A power chord underneath. So you're moving from this E power chord, which you're pressing on the 5th and 4th strings. You're going to move straight down and press on the 4th and 3rd strings. Now when you move to that A power chord, you're going to strum 5th string, 4th string, and 3rd string. So here's E, here's A, E, A. So the sequence that I'm doing right here is, okay, and then that leads back into the verse. Okay, so remember, the great thing about video is you can break these sections apart. You don't have to sit and watch 15 or 20 minutes of this whole video. You can just watch the part that you're trying to work on and then stop and then go practice it. And once you figure that part out, come back and learn the next part. So here's what we have so far. I'm going to play it from the beginning here. So I'm doing the verse. Sixth string now. Now let's say I was going into the next section. I'm going to go A. Or maybe you're coming up to the 16th fret. Okay, when we do that, now that I'm thinking about this, of course, when we do the 16th fret to the next ones, what we'd have to do is we'd have to switch our palm mute to the 6th string. Because remember, we did A to E. So when we're on the A chord, it's fine to palm mute the 5th string. But when it goes to the E chord, we have to palm mute up here on the 6th string. So that part would sound like this. Sorry. Here we go. Now, if it's really hard for you to do the palm mute inside or in between those, don't do them. Just play. Remember, the most important thing to remember about all of these videos, anything you find on YouTube or anything like that, is you have to learn it to your ability, but you also have to learn it to your time limits. Most people only have so much time in the day to be working on different things. If it's a song that you really, really love and you really want to study the whole thing in detail, that's awesome. Then go ahead and do that. But sometimes you just want to learn how to kind of jam through a song. And so, you just take the best parts of whatever and you kind of put them together, make them fit rhythmically, and I'm telling you, that's fine. We don't have to learn every song on the planet note for note necessarily, unless it's something that we really, really want to do. So we've got those parts. Now we head back into the verse again, and we do the same thing that we did before. Now the cool part is that's it. Those are the chord parts. Okay? So you've got your verse, you've got your bridge, or we'll call it a bridge. I might have said it was a pre-chorus before, but we really don't have a chorus until the very end of the song, and the chorus is the same as the verse. Okay? You just keep playing through that. So it really is just those two segments, okay? So now let's take that verse segment that we've been working on, the E to B to C sharp thing, and let's look at it as bar chords now. Okay, so we'd play E as an open chord, then we'd go to B as a 5th string bar chord. Okay, so if you know what a bar chord is, again, if you don't, look it up. I have videos, people have videos all over the place about bar chords. I sell instructional videos that talk about all this sort of thing as well. But what we'd be doing is making a 5th string bar chord, which means we're barring over the bottom 5 strings at the 2nd fret, where the power chord is. Power chord and a bar chord are related. Bar chord is just playing all the notes, where a power chord is just playing the top couple of notes. So then we take our 3rd finger and we're going to place it on the 4th fret of the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. So that's how we make a major bar chord. When I strum it, I'm trying to strum the bottom 5 strings. Okay, so I'm moving from E into B major, and then I'm going to move up to C sharp like the power chord thing did, only this time this chord's going to be minor. So what I'm doing is I'm barring over the bottom 5 strings at the 4th fret, and I'm making an A minor style chord with my other 3 fingers. So my middle finger goes on the 2nd string, My pinky goes on the 3rd string, and my middle finger, or excuse me, my ring finger goes on the 4th string. Okay, so that's a minor chord. So E major, B major, C sharp minor, to A major, or A major down here. Again, you're going to see why I do it up here in just a second, okay? So again, if you don't know your bar chords, your two choices are you either don't play it as bar chords or you go back and you learn about bar chords. I don't want to get into great detail on what a bar chord is right now because I'm trying to teach you how to play the song, of course. Okay? So the second time around, then, we do exactly the same thing. E, B, G sharp on the 6th string. Remember, we have to go to the 4th fret of the 6th string. That's going to be major. So we're playing the 6th string bar chord major, which means these 3 fingers are going to look like an E chord now. Your middle finger is on the 3rd string, your third finger is on the 5th string, and your pinky is on the 4th string. Okay, so that's how I would play this whole sequence as bar chords. Now come around again. Okay, so you're choosing to play that part as power chords or bar chords. Okay, let's keep going with it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the picking pattern. Now you can see kind of why I would play A up there is because this is the position that I wound up in. So let me show you that. We're plucking the 6th string open, and then we're going to play 0, 2, 4 on the 6th string. Then I'm heading to the 5th string 2nd fret. So I have, okay? So I'm using, watch my fingers, I'm using my 1st finger and my 3rd finger to play the 2nd and the 4th frets. Okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to play 2, 4, 6, 4 on the 5th string. And the way I do that is I play with my 1st finger to my 3rd finger. Then I slide up. Again, I don't have to physically make the slide sound. I'm using my 3rd finger on the 4th fret and then again on the 6th fret. So maybe you're physically sliding, maybe you're just picking the finger up. See, I'm sliding, but because I'm picking in both spots on the 4th fret and the 6th fret, you don't hear it as a slide. But understand, when we move positions are when you're in something and you want to move somewhere else on the guitar. The only way you can get there is either by A, sliding, or B, picking your fingers up and moving. So what you want to do, again, is to try and make it sound as much like the song as possible. Then what I can do is, because I'm on my 3rd finger on the 6th fret, I can simply go back to my 1st finger on the 4th fret. So I have 2 little patterns there. I have, and then, now we have the next one, which is going to be 4, 6, 7 on the 5th string. So what I'm doing is playing my 1st finger, my 3rd finger, and my pinky. What I always try and teach my students about is having 4 fingers for 4 frets. Okay? Try to get used to using your pinky instead of just your 1st and your 2nd and your 3rd for everything. It's nice to develop the strength in that pinky. Then what you're going to go is you're going to go to the 6th fret, or excuse me, the 6th string 5th fret. And that's the end of that 3rd pattern. So here's your 1st pattern. 2nd pattern. 3rd pattern. Then you just have a little connection pattern. The last pattern is going to be, again, the 6th string 5th fret to the 5th string 6th fret to the 5th string 7th fret. It's just as confusing for me to say sometimes as it is for you to hear. Okay, so that's why, of course, video is so great. So you're going 5, 6, 7. 5 on the 6th string, 6 and 7 on the 5th string. Now, I might use 1, 2, 3, these fingers, but I might just use 2, 3, and 4 because that's where I was when I came out of the last little pattern. So here's the whole sequence. Watch this. Start over. Now we know we go to the 6th string right here, right? We go up to the 6th string and play a bar chord or a power chord. So when we go up there, There's no special pattern there. It just goes up. And then it ends with that 6 and 7 again. Okay, so when you go up there, what I usually do is I just play a power chord instead of just playing the single note. So here's the whole sequence, nice and slow, the whole verse sequence. Okay, so that's how the picking pattern is going to go for the verse. Now, because what I usually do is I combine all of these. In most of the bands that I've played with, I'm usually the only guitar player, and so what I try and do is play all of the parts together. So when an audience is listening, I'm trying to combine all the elements together so there's nothing missing. So what I would do is I would take that picking pattern and I would play it along with the chords that are being played. Okay, whether you play them as power chords or bar chords is entirely up to you, but it would look something like this. I would play E. See, instead of just plucking the 6th string and then leaving it, I would strum the chord. Now you can see why it's really important for me to be up here now so I can play all those notes. Now again, could I find that down here? Of course I could. You can find the same notes all over the fretboard, but it's easier in my head to play the entire pattern moving up and winding up on that A. So that's why I do it that way. Okay? So, step 1, we learned how to play the verse as power chords. Step 2, we learned how to play the bridge or the pre-chorus, whatever you want to call it, as either A to E. And then we also learned to play it up here with palm muting between 14th and 16th frets, okay, up there somewhere. And you could play either or. It doesn't make any difference, whatever you want to do. Palm muting on the 5th string, palm muting on the 6th string, okay? Then we went back and we studied the verse again, but this time we looked at it as bar chords, and then we added in these single notes. So you could play it as power chords, you could play it as bar chords, you could play just the single notes, you could do any of those three, or you can kind of combine all three of those elements into one big part of your playing, one big soup, so to speak, right? And play it however you want. So that's kind of the fun of this. Again, power or open, you can play them either way if you want to play A as a full chord and E as a full chord, or A as a power, E as a power. I always try and give my students suggestions of different things to do because there is no one right way of playing a lot of these songs, you know? I mean, I'm sure, you know, Neil Schoen, the guitar player for Journey, when he's played the song 80 million times, he's probably made up 1,000 different ways of playing different things on the guitar. So guitar playing, in essence, sometimes is just an interpretation of what you're hearing, but it also has to be something that's comfortable for you to play, comfortable for you to understand visually and all that sort of thing. Otherwise, you're going to get halfway in, and of course, you're going to stop playing it and move on to something else. So that's why, again, this video is a little long, but I want you to understand you can just pick and choose. If I'm talking about a part you don't want, just fast forward it to the next section. Okay, so here we go. Now we're going to move on. We've already done the bridge or the pre-chorus, and there is nothing else to do there. So now we're going to move on to the solos. Okay, so the solos, the first thing you hear in this song is this picking thing. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just kind of show you what it is, and then we'll talk a little bit about how to play it or how you could play it or whatever we're going to do here. So we're going to be at the 17th fret of the 2nd string with my middle finger. And I'm going to play that 17, and then I'm going to go to the 16th fret of the 2nd string. So I have... And then I'm going to go to the 18th fret of the 3rd string with my ring finger to the 16th fret of the 3rd string. So I have a group of 4 notes here. Now, again, in an ideal situation, I would practice that over and over and over and over, trying to make that as clean as possible. One thing that I found with a lot of students that works quite well is if you bar over the 2 16s with your first finger and you do a pull-off from 16 to 15, And then you do a pull off from 18 to 16. So you have. Okay, kind of that idea, right? Or. But that's the beginning. It starts off nice and slow, and then it gets faster and faster. And then he ends with that thing right there. And what you're doing is you're bending the second string at the 19th fret with your third finger. And if you know anything about bending, you'd want to put the other two fingers on that string as well. If you don't know anything about bending, you need to go back and research a little bit about that, okay? Because again, this video is trying to get the song finished here. So I'm going to take the pinky, I'm going to go to the first string, 19th fret as well. So I have both the third and the pinky on the same fret on two different strings. I'm going to pluck both of those, and then I'm going to bend the 19th fret up in the air. Okay, so sounds pretty cool and ugly, right? Okay, so you might add a vibrato, you might just do it once, and then he slides off. And that's where the guitar hits that E twice. A singer in a smoky room, and then that keeps going from there. Okay? So the first solo, you've got this. Or you're doing pull-ups. Okay, then you're going to that 19. Okay, then the second part is the next solo, okay? The actual solo, which we're going to play. That's our lick. Now it's a little fast, so let me break down what's happening there. Again, this fast part in the beginning, a lot of times I tell students not even to play it, just to start on this note. So if that first part is really too fast for you, just ignore it and start on the fun melody part. But the speed pick, little technique in there, and you could do these as hammer-ons if you wanted to as well. You're going to play 13, 14, 16 on the third string. And then you're going to play 14, 16, 17 on the second string. So you're either picking them all, or you're hammering them. Whatever feels good to you. And then you're going to go to the 14th fret of the first string and then the 16th fret of the first string. So we have. Okay, and then that's where the actual melody starts. So you have this. Okay, then we start the actual lick. Now watch this. We're going to take that 14, we're going to bend it up a half step. Then we're going to bring it back down to just the standard note. And if you've got an ability to do a vibrato, a really nice vibrato would sound great right there. So I'm playing 16 bent, half step, back down to 16. Then I'm playing 14th fret back to 16 again, so it sounds like this. Then he bends it up and down. So what I'm doing right there is I'm bending that same 16 up and down. Hear how it goes, ba-da-dum. So you want to pick it, lay flat, and then bend it like this. Then we're heading down to the 14th fret. And then we're going to go. So we're heading to the second string there. And I'm playing 17 to 16. Notice how I'm using my pinky again. Really would recommend that you learn how to use your pinky. Okay? So right there, I played 17, 16, 17, 14. Then I play 16, 14 on the third string, again with my first and third fingers, which makes sense. So I have... kind of a hard little lick there, 13, 14, 16, which would be 1, 2, and 4 fingers. 14, 16, 17, which for me would be 1, 3, 4 fingers. And then that puts me in position for the 14, 16. And then... then I start all over again. But then it goes... okay? So right there, what I'm doing is I'm doing the same bend. And I'm going 14, 17. 14 on the first, 17 on the second. And then right away, I'm going up to the 17th fret to do a bend. And again, if you know how to do a vibrato on top of a bend, it sounds really nice. If you don't, take a look around on my YouTube videos, then you're going to go up to the 21st fret. You're going to bend that up a whole step. And then because I only have 21 frets on this guitar, I got to bend it up another half step. So I'm going... If you have 22 frets, you can simply move over to the 22nd fret and bend up from there to get that note. Okay? So whatever works for you, whichever one you want to do. Okay? So I'm going up. Now, it's really imperative that you hit those last two bends because they sound really great over the chord progression. And if you've ever tried to do bends before and they're not quite in tune, you know what it sounds like. It sounds a little brittle. So it's really important to try and get those up there. So I think that pretty much covers everything to do with the song, from a more simple way of playing it to the more accurate way of playing it, combining elements together. Again, if you come across a part that's really difficult to play, watch it over and over and over. If there's something that just doesn't make sense to you, you can always email me. You can email me through this YouTube page or whatever, and I will be glad to help you further. Thank you very much.